Today we're going to talk about sort of how to clear up space on your phone. So if your phone has been running slow, or if you get notifications saying that you're running out of storage space, I'm going to give you some really sort of easy tips on how to clear up space on your phone. We're also going to talk a little bit about how to store passwords and information on your on your internet browser. We're just going to use Google as the example. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So you should see my screen now, see all my apps and stuff. We're going to look at how you can tell how much storage there is on your phone. And so when we talk about storage, we're talking about, you know, how many apps, how many files are on your phone. And sometimes when it gets really, really full, you can start getting messages that you're running out of space. Your phone sometimes will start running slow. So this is a way to sort of make sure your phone is functioning kind of at its best, because it tends to be that you actually have some files saved on your phone that you might not need. And sometimes they're big files. So we'll look at that. So where you want to go, just first of all, just to sort of see how much space you currently have on your phone, you want to go to your settings. And I want to give you the sort of heads up that we're doing this on an Android phone because it's what I have access to. It's the kind of phone I have. We're going to put a link in the chat to show you a video that works for iPhones and iPads. So it's similar directions, just based on an iPhone and iPad, so that you can have access to that too. But we'll use the Android phone as a model here, okay? So we're going to go to our settings. And depending on the operating system that you are running, the place that you're going to should look something like battery and device care, this one right here. So we'll see that it says storage and memory. Those are the two things we're concerned about when our phone is saying, you know, that you're running out of storage. So you want to look for storage, memory, all right? So click on that. All right. And so what's going to tell you? So you have two things going on here. Storage is most basically is like how it's the added up all the apps and files you have on your phone. And memory is how sort of rapidly your phone is connecting. So how quickly your phone can move from one thing to the next. So we're going to think about storage first, okay? So I'm going to click where it says storage here. All right, so I clicked on that. So what it's telling me here is I've used 47% of my storage. I have 128, it says GB, that's gigabytes. And just know that that's a unit of storage, okay? I have 128 of those to use. I've used 60, okay? That's not bad. I'm not really that close to the end. And I just as a heads up, as I actually did a little bit of cleaning up on here before I even showed it to you, which is why my thing is running at 50% as opposed to being way high up there. So what we have here is 47% of storage used. So I'm in good shape, but we're going to look at what I would do if I wasn't, okay? So what you'll see here is that they've sorted these different categories by what is the biggest. So just know that like GB is the biggest one. So gigabytes is the biggest. So you see here, my biggest place where my files are is in images. And that's pretty common because images take up a lot of space, okay? And then once you start going, videos take up next, audio. So these files that are, you know, more than just text, if it's an image, a video, something like that, those tend to take up a good amount of space. And then you see down here, if you keep going down, you'll see apps. So that's a good amount. That's actually the most. They're not sorting here. So gigabytes, it's 33 gigabytes. So that's actually the most. I'm sorry. And the system one here is one that you can't really change. So that's how many, you know, how much your phone needs just to function. So you can't really change much about that. But when you go into, I'm going to go back out of storage. So that's a good way to just first detect, you know, what your storage is looking like right now. Okay. And then your phone will have some sort of like it's kind of quick fixes for how to free up some storage. Okay. So you see I've got a smiley face here that says good. So it's saying mine's actually like functioning pretty well now. But it could say something there that's like not so great. So if you hit this button that says optimize now, all right, what it'll do is it'll make sure that you don't, what it'll do is it'll shut down background apps is one of the biggest thing it does. And what that means is there are some apps that sometimes run on your phone without you even using them. Like they're using memory at the time that you, like they're not open, but they're still running and using up space. So what it'll do is close those for you, among other things, and make sure there's not anything that's running your battery really high. That's a really easy first step, okay? So you just hit that optimize button, it'll give you a sense of what's going on there. And then when we're looking at storage again, it has suggestions for you, okay? So if you scroll down after where it says storage, it's gonna show us, I think one of the most useful things on here is where it says unused apps. So my unused apps are taking up 686 megabytes of data, okay? So I can look at those and see, okay, these are apps that are on my phone that I don't use. Like I have not used them. I think they have some threshold. It's in several months, like 6 months or something. Okay, so a bunch of these. I can go in and from this spot, I can delete the apps I don't use. Be careful about this. I mean, it won't delete all your information. If you download the app again and sign into it, you'll still have all your stuff. But just, be sort of, look at these and it's like, if this is something that you've never used and you never plan on using, go ahead and uninstall it. I'm going to keep my safe and found, and I'm going to keep my moon phase calendar because I never look at it, but still there, I want it. So I'm going to say uninstall all of these. All right. And that's going to free up some space for me. It's going to take a second. The other thing that you can do that can be really helpful is backing up your pictures and video to the cloud. So if you do that, you can free up a lot of space on your phone because you won't just be saving images and video onto your phone. You'll be saving them, so that you can access them from any device. Again, then it'll give you large files. So you'll see these large files here. Most of the ones that I have are video. So if I've put those somewhere else, or if I don't need those anymore, it makes sense to delete some of those. All right. I can also just empty my trash, like if I haven't gone in there and used things, then so I can go in here and empty my trash. You can see me taking bad selfies. Okay, so I just emptied that. And then this one is going to let me empty this too. Let's go back and see how much that freed up for us. So let's go back to our storage. See, now it got me down another percent, every little bit helps. But again, I've got a bunch of apps on here. It's worth looking through my apps to see which ones I don't really need anymore. That's something you can always do. So you can go into that app section. So just click where it says apps here and just, go through and see which ones you do and don't use. And that can be really helpful in terms of freeing stuff up. That's kind of like your control panel place for making sure that you're getting rid of things that you don't use and therefore having more space on your phone. And another thing, just to show you too, if you're scrolling through your phone and you're looking at like your screen here and you see, oh, there's an app on here that just from here that I see that I don't use. Let's just say, I don't use Sheets. I do, but let's pretend I don't. You just click on it and hold down, and it's going to give you the option to uninstall it. So that's deleting the app. All right. So if you just want to delete apps like that, that you're not using, but that you can see when you scroll across on your phone, that's a really easy way to do it too. You don't even have to go into the settings for that. I'm gonna leave that alone though, because I do use it. There are some apps that you can't delete because they are built into your phone. That's true. Sometimes you can disable those apps that are built into your phone. Sometimes it gives you that option. sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes those are just like default apps that you can't really do much about. So they're going to run, they're going to take up a little bit of your storage on their own. And that sucks, but it's just, sometimes that's just the way it is. Yes, you can put apps back. So let's say I went in and deleted Sheets, or let's say I did that accidentally, or I didn't need it like for a while, but then I did. Okay, so what I can do is I'll delete it. But because I have a login, because I have a Google login that gets me in there, if I go back and download the app from the Play Store again, it's still going to have all my information in there. That's one of the good things about it. If I can log into that app again, I won't have lost anything, because my information otherwise is sort of stored in my password. It's not, so it's kind of low risk for most of these things. The things that are not low risk to delete is if you don't have pictures backed up somewhere or video backed up somewhere or other sort of audio files or something like that. Those are a little bit, once you delete those, if you don't have them somewhere else, you can't get them back in the same way you can with apps. So be careful about that. And again, we can talk about ways to sort of back those up so you don't have to worry about deleting pictures that you can't get back. So you use Google Chrome if you have an Android phone as your browser. It looks like this one right here down at the bottom next to settings. If you don't use Google Chrome, I suggest it. You might have a internet browser that's built into your phone. That's fine too, and it'll have similar settings to it as Chrome. Like it'll have a way to do this as well. But I'm just going to be working with Chrome as the browser right now. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And the browser, what I'm saying as far as browser is just when you go just to the internet, like when you go to Smart's webpage or something like that, it's the app that you would use to just open a website, not a separate app, but just like to open up whatever, like www. whatever. So mine's opening to the New York Times crossword puzzle. I'm spelling bee. What we want to do in order to save passwords or save information in Chrome, we want to hit these three dots at the top, okay? And what you're going to see is this settings again. When in doubt, and you're trying to deal with things like memory or storage or data to be entered, go to settings, okay? So you'll see, here's my email. So I'm going to go to passwords here. So what this does is this will actually save your passwords for websites, okay? I know it can be like such a pain in the butt to remember all your passwords. This is a really good thing to turn on if you have issues with that. So if it's not turned on right here, you can put where it says save passwords, just turn it on. See, I'm turning it off, turning it back on. And what that does is when you go to log in on a website, let's say you're going to, your account at Macy's or something, what it'll do is it'll automatically put your password in there so you don't have to remember it every time. One thing to keep in mind with that is it is a security thing. So if you're saving your passwords in there, if somebody gets a hold of your phone, they can more easily access things like those accounts. So what you want to do is make sure that you have a password, some sort of, that your phone is locking in some sort of way so that somebody can't get into it and then get into your files with your password. So if you have like, either a number password or you're using your thumb or a shape or something like that, just make sure it's protected some sort of way, not that it's just you can turn it on and it's accessible to anyone. A lot of people have some sort of protection on it right now. If you don't, it's definitely worth thinking about, especially if you're going to turn on passwords, saving passwords, because you don't want somebody to have access to that except for you. So turn that on and you'll see if you actually scroll down, it'll give you a list of all the passwords that I have saved, which is kind of funny. It's a lot of them. And that's really helpful, again, so you don't, I know places make you change your password all the time. This is a good way to save them. You can also, some of you probably have this set up already. You can also set it up where there's automatic form filling with your address or with like your payment type, like your credit card information. So if you're someone who does a lot of shopping online, or if you need to enter your address online for a lot of reasons, it can be kind of a pain to type it in every time. So what you can do is actually have Chrome store your address. I think I cleared this out so it shouldn't come up with my actual address, hopefully. So where it says addresses and more, yeah, I did. What you want to do is you're going to turn on this thing that says save and fill addresses, and then you'll add your address in here. And when you do that, what it'll do is whenever there's a form that comes up on the internet that says, you know, that wants your address, that it'll pre-fill this. Yeah, that'll pre-fill that form for you, so you don't have to enter your name and address every time. You can do the same thing with a credit card, okay? So you can click on payment methods, put your credit or debit card in there, and what it'll do is whenever you go on a website, let's say, you know, you want to shop multiple different websites, instead of having to enter your credit or debit card information every single time, it'll give you the option of just selecting it. And when you go in to select it, it'll X out all the first digits and you'll see the last 4. So it's not like your full credit or debit card information will flash up on the screen. If that's something that you're worried about, it'll have the last 4 there. So you can like choose what payment type you want, but you don't have to type it out every time. And that can be really helpful.